Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. My name is Peter Loshak. Today is Friday, July 14th, and tomorrow we have UFC Fight Night 113 from Glasgow, Scotland going. We're going to analyze the main card right now with our regular returning guest, Andreas Hale, MMA and boxing odds expert analyst. Andreas Hale, thanks for being back with us one more time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. So, Andreas Hale, we have a UFC Fight Night 113. It is being fought in Scotland tomorrow. And I think I have bets that I'm liking on both of the co-main events here. One a big favorite, one a big underdog. We'll see if you agree with me. The first fight that I want to talk about, of course, is the Gunnar Nelson fight, right, against Santiago Ponzinibbio. And Gunnar Nelson, was expected to be the next big thing at 170 pounds. A lot of hype surrounding him. He did lose a close decision, though, against Rick Story that maybe indicated a little bit of a lack of urgency. That's what some people were saying about him anyway. But obviously, he's a guy who can easily submit a guy. And Ponzinibbio is also a guy who gets a lot of finishes. He's a knockout artist. So I'm thinking that this fight, which is scheduled for 5 rounds, is very much not likely to go the distance. I'm not sure I'd want to take the under 1.5 rounds at plus 175. But the fight not going the distance at minus 310, it's a big favorite line. But I think even at those odds, might have some betting value. What do you think, Andreas Hale?
This is a tough one because Ponzinibbio has gone the distance in his past 2 fights. Gunnar Nelson has gone the distance before. Obviously, he went the distance with Rick Story and Demian Maia, both fights that he lost. It's possible that these two just kind of square off against each other and find a way to go all 5 rounds. Gunnar doesn't necessarily want to get into a striking match with Ponzinibbio, and Ponzinibbio doesn't want to go the round with Gunnar Nelson. Look, last week we all thought Yoel Romero and Robert Whittaker would not go the distance. That ended up going the distance. So at those odds, I kind of stay away from this fight going the length.
Right, I hear you. Although, actually, in that one, I liked the over, if you recall, Andreas Hale. But yeah, it's true that Ponzinibbio's last 2 fights did go the distance. But again, those were 3-round fights. This is a 5-round fight. If it were 3 rounds, I'd be very much more reluctant to say that it doesn't go the distance. And my sense is just that there is likely to be a sense of urgency, basically with both these guys. I think Nelson is looking for more of a dynamic, impressive finish here. And again, if it was just 3 rounds, maybe not, but at 5 rounds, you think they might test each other for 5 rounds, and it might actually go the distance. That there's actually a real chance it could go the distance.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, if the line was a little bit closer, I'd say easily. But at minus 310, it's really tough to pick that. I just don't like those numbers. I don't think it's going to go the distance. I think Gunnar Nelson is going to submit him. He's in Scotland. He's got a ton of momentum behind him. Obviously, you got Conor McGregor getting ready to fight Floyd Mayweather. So he has a lot to prove. So I think he's going to finish him. I just at minus 310, I got to stay away from it.
You're right. That is a huge line there. A loss will set me back 3 units, not just 1.5 units or 2 units or something like that. All right. So let's just get your take on who's more likely to win this fight. Nelson right now is the favorite at minus 160. Ponzinibbio is on the other side plus 140, and I think Nelson should be the favorite here. But clearly, this is a dangerous fight for Nelson. Ponzinibbio has been a little bit underrated, I think, and under the radar in the UFC in general. He does tend to get wins and just doesn't quite get the respect I think he deserves. So maybe he's being undervalued even at plus 140. What do you think?
Well, it's really tough. With Ponzinibbio, he hasn't fought the class of fighters that Gunnar Nelson has fought. Like I said, Gunnar Nelson has fought Demian Maia, Rich Story, and Brandon Thatcher and a few others. Ponzinibbio fought Lorenz Larkin and lost. He got knocked out. Probably his best win to date is either Ryan LaFleur or Court McGee, which isn't saying much. Gunnar Nelson should have the experience factor. He should obviously have the crowd behind him. I'm actually kind of surprised that this line is not a little bit wider because I think when Gunnar is motivated, he's showing that he can finish off his opponents. He has a sick jiu-jitsu game. Yeah. So I'm definitely going with Gunnar Nelson. I like the line here for him. I don't think Ponzinibbio is going to have much of a chance.
All right. So would you rather have Nelson at minus 160 or maybe a shot with Nelson inside the distance at, let me find the odds on that one. Nelson inside the distance would be, Nelson inside the distance is just minus 103. That shows you how much the market expects this fight to not go the distance. Nelson just to win at minus 160 or inside the distance at minus 103.
Yeah, I'll take the inside of the distance. Like I said, I think Gunnar Nelson is going to be very motivated to finish this fight. You never know with these type of fights, but for this line, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take Gunnar inside the distance.
All right, and then the next fight, and then the co-main event that I want to discuss here, I think there might be some good betting value here. It's Joanne Calderwood against Cynthia Calvillo, and Cynthia Calvillo is undefeated, so it's understandable why she is the favorite, but she's still a developing fighter. She's definitely taken a step up in competition, facing the toughest striker, certainly, that she's ever faced, and Calvillo is a favorite right now, minus 210, which surprised me a little bit. Calderwood, of course, isn't, she's on the other side of plus 175, and she's had some losses, but she's definitely an experienced kickboxer, definitely, a talented fighter for sure, despite the fact that she's had some losses recently. And I have to think that Calderwood at plus 175 is the way to go here.
Peter, I never really disagree with you. I got to disagree with you on this one.
Really? Okay, tell us. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I'll tell you, Cynthia Calvillo trains with Team Alpha Male, and she's a pit bull. I've heard a lot of great things coming from Uriah Faber in the camp over there, and she's proven it. It's clear that Dana White is behind Cynthia Calvillo for a reason. He doesn't get behind fighters that he doesn't think are any good. He did it with Conor McGregor. He's doing it with Cynthia Calvillo. Joanne Calderwood is a great striker. However, she does show a little periods where she's a little tentative, and she's prone to getting taken down. If she gets taken down, that's Cynthia Calvillo's wheelhouse, and she'll probably submit her like she has her last two opponents. She also has a knockout in Legacy Fighting Alliance before that. But Calvillo's a finisher, and she's a very tough fighter, so I understand the line here, and I have to go with Calvillo. I just think she's the anointed one, and I don't think Dana gets behind people he thinks they're going to lose.
All right, those are great points. And yeah, also I do think that that Calderwood is kind of on her way to 125 pounds, and that she'll be a lot better there. She hasn't looked very comfortable at strawweight at 115, and so I agree. My sense is just like you said about the first fight that we talked about, the big favorite line of minus 310 made you want to stay off it, and my sense here is that just in light of how relatively inexperienced Calvillo is and stepping up in competition against a striker that is of the caliber that she hasn't faced yet, I'm just not quite seeing minus 210, but you think that line is justified?
I do. I just, like I said, with Calderwood, the way she's a little tentative on offense, and she struggles a little bit with the takedowns, and she struggles with the weight class as well. Calvillo, she's right in the wheelhouse. Everything here is made for her to win this fight and be featured in a co-main event.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, Calderwood has clearly shown that she's vulnerable to getting submitted, and that might happen here. All right. Let's go to one other fight that maybe we'll agree on. Maybe you'll endorse my initial thoughts, and that is Khalil Rountree against Paul Craig. Now, Rountree is obviously a powerhouse who is very, very dangerous. His last fight was a knockout inside 1 minute. And then Craig on the other side is kind of a much more well-rounded fighter. I see Craig as probably being vulnerable here, of course, to Rountree's vicious striking. But at plus 175, Rountree here is a favorite of minus 210. Craig on the other side at plus 175. I'm thinking that maybe, once again, the underdog might be the way to go here. Rountree obviously could get a devastating knockout. That would not be a surprise at all. And Craig did get knocked out in his last fight, which is very concerning. But considering the odds, should Rountree be this much of a favorite?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Khalil Rountree, before this fight, he lost his previous two fights. He didn't have a great showing in the Ultimate Fighter House either. So to see him as this much of a favorite just coming off of a knockout, I know a lot of people think he's coming into his own, but you got to show me before you prove to me that you deserve this kind of a line.
Right.
Paul Craig is a live dog here, and I'm actually picking him to win this fight.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, so Andreas Hale, obviously, of course, I value your opinion very, very highly. I'm going to give only one official pick here, and that is going to be Paul Craig plus 175, a big underdog line here to get the win over Khalil Rountree. And this is also a fight that the market is very, very certain is not going to go the distance. The under 1.5 rounds is minus 195, and Paul Craig to win is plus 175. To win inside the distance is just plus 190. So you get almost no added value by taking Craig inside the distance. The market sees this fight as very, very likely to end early. You think there's any reason to believe that anything other than an early finish will happen here?
No, absolutely not. I think that's the way to go here. I think the oddsmakers got that one spot on.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else from the main card that you'd like to bring to our attention as far as betting value is concerned?
Yes, there is a fight with Paul Felder and Stevie Ray that is very interesting because Paul Felder is an underdog. And I think Paul Felder is one of those guys who has some tough decisions. He's fought high-class competition. He's been in there with some of the best. He hasn't always come out on top. But I've seen lines of him as a dog at around plus 160, which I find kind of outrageous. Stevie Ray is a good fighter, don't get me wrong. But Paul Felder is one of those guys, I think once he gets his momentum going, he's going to go on a nice little winning streak, and I think it starts here this weekend. So I have to go with Paul Felder, and I think he may stop Stevie Ray as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you discussed this fight and this line, because this line has seen recently a huge movement. You said you're surprised to see Paul Felder as big of a dog as he is, but very recently the line wasn't that big. The last time I checked, it was, or when I started to do my research on this fight, it was Ray was minus 135, Felder was plus 115, and then very recently it took a huge jump in Ray's favor, now up to a minus 165, Felder plus 145 on the other side, and also a big move in favor of the over. It was already a big favorite. Over 2.5 rounds was about minus 220 a couple days ago. Now it's up to minus 260. So someone's betting Stevie Ray to win this one by decision.
Yeah, and again, I find it odd. You know, you look at Paul Felder, his losses are to Francisco Trinaldo, Ross Pearson, and Edson Barboza. That's high-class competition. Sure. You know, Stevie Ray fought Joe Lozon, and it's not, and, you know, Joe's a great fighter, but come on. And Paul's also a finisher. You know, Alessandro Ricci ate it bad with elbows and punches in his last fight. I think Paul Felder finishes Stevie Ray here. I think they've got this one all wrong, and I have to go with Paul Felder inside of the distance.
Yeah, all right. This is a total pass for me because I basically agree with everything you said. When it was down at minus 130 or 135, I thought the odds were pretty much dead on, and I wanted to pass on it. And then when I saw the big line move in favor of Stevie Ray, I didn't understand it, which made me even more confused. So I'm staying way the hell off of that one. And let's just wrap this up. Andreas Hale, what official picks would you like to recommend for us today?
Well, Paul Felder inside the distance is one of them. I think you'll find value there. I don't know what the linemen are seeing that I'm not, but yeah, but I'm definitely taking Paul Felder inside the distance. And I got to take Gunnar Nelson inside the distance as well. He's got a lot to prove. He's got a lot of momentum behind him, and he wants to get in the mix, as Dana White would say, for a title shot. So I figure he's got to finish this fight this weekend. So Gunnar Nelson inside the distance as well as Paul Felder.
All right. Well, Felder just to win is plus 145. Felder inside the distance is plus 430. So you get way more value on Felder inside the distance. You think there's value there because, again, the recent line move has been in favor of the over. The over 2.5 rounds was a big favorite a few days ago, and now it's an even bigger favorite, all the way up to minus 260.
Yeah, it's wild, and like I said, I think Paul Felder. You know, if you watch fights, you see Paul Felder. He's an excellent striker who can knock out any opponent. So there's no reason that I think Stevie Ray is somebody who wanted this fight really, really bad, which means he has something to prove. Mm-hmm. I think he leaves himself wide open to getting hurt in this fight. So it's crazy to me, but it's the way I got to go.
All right, interesting analysis as always, Andreas Hale. Thanks so much. I'll just leave you guys with just one pick, Paul Craig, to get the win at plus 175. Talk to you again very soon, Andreas.
All right, thank you.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.